No. Oh,
Okay.
there's a painting over there that's just sitting over there that I haven't hung up on a
Okay.
wall yet. No, the cat
All right.
stuff? No, I've had that.
I don't think I've seen it before.
Yeah, I've had that.
All right, John, turn the light on so that we can see you.
Let me turn this light on. Good morning.
That's
There you
up there. Well, sort of.
Is
God, you
that a
look like
red
you're
light bulb?
sunburned.
Is that a red light
Are
bulb?
you an Oompa Loompa, sir?
Bug.
John, how tall are you?
4'1".
Oompa loompa doopity doo.
All right.
Today's topic for viewers watching are how drugs and alcohol can affect your life.
Yes. Also, like how addiction in general affects
How
your life.
addiction. Yeah, how
Yeah.
addiction.
So I kind of in my research started to break this down into these sections. You know, one of them being our health, right? And then another being family, relationships, friends, uh, your work, your interest in hobbies and other activities, your recreation, your spirituality, your drive in life, all that. Then your finances is a big one. We can go ahead and start there if that works for you
Okay.
guys.
Yeah,
I mean, it's
finances.
pretty straightforward one. I mean, obviously you're spending all this money on this bullshit right here that you could be using for other things. And it's not just the money that you spend on it. You're wasting the time using these substances. Time that could be used towards one, making more money, and two, using that money in a better direction. Um, and then your trouble with your finances can begin to compound as you're struggling with your addiction and going through that. You start to become more and more in debt because all of a sudden you're doing things like borrowing money so that you can get a 12 pack of beer from your buddy, or you're pawning stuff. These are all signs that your addiction is at a level that you really need to start to focus on seeking help uh, and trying to reverse that negative progress.
All right, so James, I've got an
Uh-huh.
interesting question, and neither you nor John need to um, specifically speak to it, but both of you have different addictions.
Yeah.
Um, and there are different consequences on each. So I'm a little curious as to the difference of those things.
Okay.
Yeah, between the substances. Shoot. So I mean, mine was predominantly alcohol, um, and that turned into the cheapest kind of beer that I could get uh, to be able to afford that amount of alcohol to drink from.
If you were drinking natural light, I will actually fly down there and like slap you.
Yeah, there was a bunch of natural light, but it went to Milwaukee's Best. That ended up being the cheapest stuff, 5.9%, and I would drink from as soon as I woke up until I finally went to sleep at night. I wouldn't eat throughout the day. Um, at the end of the day, I finally realized that I'm hungry. Your body's like, hey, you need some nutrition. And then I'd order something expensive off of DoorDash or Instacart or whatever. And then I'd take 2 or 3 bites out of it, and it would just go to waste in the refrigerator over the next few days.
Oh,
I'm sorry, I did not mean to put you on the spot. I was just actually really curious.
Yeah. Well, I was thinking that maybe the best way to see the differences was, I kind of lay out what my experience was with alcohol. Um, I would definitely avoid people when I'm drinking. My family and my friends, I would make plans and engagements and cancel them just so that I could use or not handle my responsibilities. That was another big thing. And I think a lot of these are similar between these two substances, and I think it kind of falls under that umbrella of addiction. I think, John, I don't know how comfortable you feel going into your substance, but I think some substances maybe have a more difficult, they have a higher imposition on your life, possibly more damaging, quicker. Alcohol takes a long time. You know, you can have moments where you drink too much and you do something stupid. That's definitely a thing. But as far as it accelerating your alcoholism, it seems like it's a much slower, weaker substance. Not any better or worse by any means. It's just a different addiction. But like so, I say I would drink the beer because it was, you know, not straight liquor, right? I'd never get to that point of blacking out or throwing up while drinking. But I'd slowly poison myself for weeks and weeks and weeks. That, you know, definitely not take care of anything. But there wasn't any of those moments for me. Like I guess there could be for some people where you drink a lot, you do something real bad, and then you have the repercussions of it. I don't know what do you have?
Yeah, similar when you're intoxicated on a stimulant or a depressant, alcohol or crack cocaine, whatever it may be. You're not your normal self. You're not going to make the same decisions you typically make. You're not going to be as attentive, like James said, to your family. Methamphetamine, I was in much poorer care of myself, poorer care of my pets during that time. I wouldn't take care of my pets. I wouldn't do the cat boxes until they were just way too late, and it was just a bad situation. I worried about my legal status. I worried about being a criminal. Uh, in just acquiring the substance, you're a criminal.
Yeah,
Possessing it, you're a
that's an
criminal.
interesting note. If I jump in for just a second,
Hmm?
yeah, because so with that substance, you're definitely worried about getting caught for a much bigger penalty. You know, whereas they didn't give a damn that I was sitting on my couch drinking Milwaukee's Best all day. You know, so that is an interesting difference. But please continue.
Uh, I remember not being present for life choices. Like for example, um, I chose to adopt my cats while going through a period of use, or time when I was actively using, and I adopted these cats, which they're joys of my life. But I think to myself how I wasn't mentally present, wasn't really fully present there in my world to make that decision. Um, but uh, but
Yeah,
yeah, very
that's something
similar
that would
to. Go ahead.
that would happen with me as far as getting into relationships with women. When I'd be drinking, you know, obviously you're less inhibited, right? But also the people that you're choosing to begin a relationship with are in the middle of their use. Basically, there's a standard here that my partner's not going to be an addict, or you know, they can be in recovery, but they're not going to be an active user of these substances. But if I was drinking, then automatically that becomes kind of an okay thing. Like, all right, you know, then you have this whole codependency type deal. So yeah,
Okay.
go ahead, Scott.
Well, I'll confess a little bit of something here, and I think I've told John this before. You know, I have an ex where I very purposely told his best friend, "Don't let me do this."
Yeah,
And I had enough alcohol; it happened.
yeah,
And I'm not ashamed of the fact that it happened. but I purposely actually said up front, I don't want this person.
Yeah. You knew it was
And
right.
I knew it was a bad choice up front. And after enough alcohol, I did.
Yep.
Hmm. You were hoping your
Yeah.
friend would stand in the way and kind of like help you make that decision, help deter you.
I had to drive the two of them home,
Yep. Yeah. Yeah. That'll
which
happen.
which is a completely different discussion.
Yeah. Yeah. Speaking of driving, it's like that's another area where we put ourselves and other people at such a high risk during
I
our use. I mean, like, sorry, go
I
ahead, Scott.
think what you just said, other people, is a key point.
Yeah. Yeah, luckily I never hurt anybody or had any accidents on there or got arrested for that. But one way or the other, my addiction did result in criminal charges and court fees and all that kind of stuff. That's on the note of finances. I mean, I've spent $20,000 on that stuff, and I'm still paying court fees and supervisor fees and everything. And you know, my charge isn't drug related, but it definitely was brought to life by use of drugs and alcohol. There's no denying that. I would have had the sense to be a much wiser, calmer person. I hope I'd be calmer as a sober person. I don't know. I still get mad in traffic, man. People go too slow. I got a car I gotta blow up, man.
Okay, I'm gonna complain about you, you straight guys,
Yeah.
for a bit,
Uh-huh.
because I was just down in Florida where I came down with COVID,
Uh,
um, and uh, you know what? I am tired of hearing you guys like complain about people who are doing the actual speed limit.
oh yeah. Dude, I don't even care if the speed limit's 90 in the fast lane. If somebody's behind you and you don't get out the way, I'm like, you gotta learn how to drive, buddy. If something takes over, man, I need to talk to my therapist about it.
Yeah, you
No,
guys need to learn when it says 65, it means 65 is okay.
yeah, no, I agree. That's probably the more sensible route to go about it. Actually follow the speed limit. Yeah. And I'm not even late for something. It's just me being a dumbass.
All right, so John, I'm going to call you out
Okay.
just very, very shortly. We're talking about speed here.
Speed.
Mm,
Yeah. And
that's a good
Scott,
segue.
Scott,
I'm just teasing on that one.
I'll
No,
say
that's good.
also, Scott, you know more about my addiction from being on the phone for so many nights. So feel free to call me if you want to call me out a little bit on any material, anything you think I could say that might be helpful. But you know, the substance, whatever your problem substance is, uh, it's probably got the capacity to wreck and ruin your life if you sit back and allow it. If you, like James said, if you're borrowing money to pay for it, if you're pawning items, those are
Yeah,
good
stealing.
indicators. Stealing, those are all good indicators that you're in over your head and are on your way, well on your way to bottoming out probably. Um, I regarding health, I think that's where I can speak to how it can destroy your life the most. I've been in utter some terrible states before where my friends had to pick me up and take me back to their apartment and nurse me up and get me
Mm,
back to a more normal status. Gone to the emergency room multiple times, convinced I was, on the verge of having a heart attack, and it was any minute I was about to die. And most of the time, the hospital or the emergency room is fairly rejective of somebody coming in for methamphetamine poisoning.
yeah.
They weren't too quick to give me any drugs or get an IV or anything like that to
Yeah.
help me with anything really.
they automatically judge you right off the
Uh,
bat.
Okay, but I'm going to say something in John's favor here. You know what? You've got friends who are willing to pick you up
It's true.
and take you back and babysit you while you come down. That shows a lot about how people feel about you, and that's not a bad thing.
I've been fortunate to have mostly gotten out of my addiction. I think I'm pretty much out of it. I'm still on guard, but I think I've gotten out without any major consequences. Um, I didn't get arrested. I didn't do anything violent. I was relatively. I like to stay indoors when I was using, um, and maybe that helped me out a little bit. But I mean, there's not an element of my life that I think meth didn't touch or affect. My relationship to my mother was greatly affected
Yeah.
and still is. She works in healthcare, and so when she was watching me poison myself, she had a terrible time. Wouldn't talk to me for periods of time. Um,
You compromise the trust as well. You start to lose the trust of your family and your friends.
you lose their trust because you're lying to them, telling them, no, I'm sober. I haven't used it, and no, I remember distinctively trying to hide it from my girlfriend, hide years of usage, but I don't do that anymore. I love the sheer transparency now, and um,
It's so r- there's such a sense of relief whenever you don't have to hide or be deceptive. You just get to be an honest person throughout the day. It's a very important feeling that I think people forget even exists. You know, I mean, like you're saying, you don't have to. You can be transparent now. You don't have to remember what secrets you have. You don't have to remember what
right.
lies you told. Yeah. I I think my friends always knew. I mean, I never hid whenever I was drinking or smoking marijuana or any of those kinds of things. For the longest time, I felt like one of those people that was like, I'm functioning, I can do this, and never get in trouble, never get in any fights, never, all that kind of stuff. Um, but slowly through the years, I'd start to hear things like, yeah, you need to cut back, from my friends telling me that, my, uh, I hid it from my parents when I stayed down there. There was a lot of deception there, but I never spoke it. It was just the unspoken deception type deal, but after moving back up here to Arkansas, my friends would mention that, so if you're hearing that from your friends or you're hearing that from your family, you're hearing it from a doctor, that you need to stop using that. Um, all big warning signs that we've gone to a point that we need to be careful and try to back away from, because it can be too late. You can affect your health permanently, um, in addiction. Not just the physical part of it, but the mental aspect of it. We use these things to get this high, this rush, this dopamine release. We do it over and over again, and then eventually we start to appreciate our normal dopamine releases, and then we lose interest in items. We lose our energy, our drive, all of those sorts of things. But the effect on family is huge. Um, friends that you don't talk to anymore, whether because you're using or because they're still using. Um,
So I'm going to have a quick throw out or question here.
yeah,
For both of you, because my situation is a little bit different.
yeah,
Yes, I've got family, but being gay means you end up building your own family.
yeah,
Um, because there's so many people in your life that don't accept you, and there's a lot of that party culture
Yeah,
that
Yeah.
goes
that's hard.
in with that. And so I'd be curious as to perspective from both of you on that sort of thing.
Yeah, I think a lot of my activities began to revolve entirely around that party culture, um, especially when women were involved. You know, it was
Oh God, so I'm not the only person.
it was
Yay!
it was best it was me trying to figure out ways to get us the most drugs and alcohol. You know, at times that was cocaine or whatever we could get, acid, you know, mushrooms.
Ew.
All,
Oh no, no, not shrooms. Not shrooms. We're not discussing shrooms. Bleh.
yeah. Yeah, no,
That was horrible.
I've had some great times and some bad times, but the important thing that I learned was that I can have great times, but without doing that.
Okay, so I'm going to sort of pull us back to the topic about
Yeah.
how drugs and alcohol, affect your life. Um, and the only time I have ever done shrooms, and we're talking like 25 years ago, um, one of my best friends at that time basically drove me around for 8 hours because every time I was motionless, I got motion sick.
Oh. Mhm.
So he drove me around for like hours on end.
Yeah. You know, you remind me, like I mentioned that I never lost control or blacked out or any of those kinds of things. In the manner that I drank, but I've had a few bad experiences doing too many mushrooms, mushroom tea, and all that, where I wasn't there. You know, who knows? I mean, luckily, I was around friends that like just made sure I stayed on the couch and was in la la land. But if I didn't have that safety net, I could have easily just been running down the street butt naked. You know, like I had no idea that I was doing
I
that.
did not want to have that visual image, but thank you, James.
I
Now I
had
do.
underpants on.
He did it. He was not wearing underpants. I was there.
Yeah, no, luckily, my friends kept me from doing anything like that. They just kept giving me water because I won't go into detail of some of the, you know, some of it's funny, but you know, obviously we're not trying to promote, promote doing that stuff.
You know what? I will never complain about the stuff that I did because I wouldn't be the person that I am
Yeah.
if I hadn't done those things.
Hmm.
Um, but as I've gotten older, yeah, I don't want to keep doing that shit.
Yeah. Man, I'm just stoked to be a person. You know, the transparency was a big part of it. Not seeking drugs. That's a huge one, man. I was always chasing it to make sure that I had that can of beer or I had that bag of weed or whatever I was doing. Because I do whatever I could get my hands on. That's where I was in life. I wanted to be anywhere but present. Um, I was
Okay,
afraid
so
of being present.
that's a interesting dive on this discussion. You didn't want to be in your own headspace, is what I'm
Yeah,
hearing.
yeah, exactly. Didn't want to take care of any of the bills. Didn't want to open mail. Didn't want to brush my teeth, take showers, any of that kind of stuff. I didn't want uh, to have to deal with thoughts, regrets, anything. I wanted to be in a place where I could just laugh at YouTubes all day, you know, and drink until I got to the point where I could enjoy it, enjoy in quotes. As you know, the way that I would drink, even though I didn't black out or throw up each night, you know, or any of that kind of stuff, what would happen is I would drink that way all day, every day for, you know, a month or 2 months or something like that. And eventually my body would just uh, begin to reject uh, drinking. It reject anything that I would give it. It would not trust me to provide nutrition. So I wouldn't be able to get any fluids down. I would just be throwing up for several days, and then after, you know, the second or third day with no fluids and throwing up, I'd check into the ER, and then I'd receive that sort of judgment from the staff, like, oh, got a guy here, he's drank too much, you know. Beyond fluids and IVs for a few days, and I would always think, man, never again. I never want to feel this. You know, your stomach will hurt so much from just retching all over all day. Not having the fluids, you know, that's it hurts so much. I mean, water is, I think, a natural drug for humans. It's crazy how good it can make us feel, and then how bad it can make us feel when we deny ourselves proper nutrition.
All right,
So,
John, any comments from you?
You were saying that, James, about water hydration, and made me want to go grab the water.
yeah,
Hard water.
good.
Um,
Yeah, I kind of rambled on there for a minute. I may have steered us off
Nope.
course.
Nope. That's what these conversations are for. And I felt that like that was a very impactful thing, and I'm still trying to like process it. So that's a good thing.
Yeah. At a point, it kind of became like self-medication. You know, it's like I'd wake up, I'd have my hands would be shaking a little bit. I'd be hot and cold, sweats, no body temperature control. The only thing that would make me feel normal that next morning, or normal, would be getting another beer in and starting the whole process over again. And the whole time that I do it, I knew I was being stupid, and I felt ashamed for it. Yep.
So hair of the dog.
Yeah.
But repeatedly.
Yeah. Every day.
Yeah. No, that's. I guess I'm a little fortunate. I think I've told both of you guys, I'm addicted to milk, and milk and alcohol don't mix well.
We need to start promoting milk.
Hey, there's a lot of calcium, there's a lot of vitamin D,
A little bit of protein, yeah, man.
Yeah, and so it's pretty tough for me to like do things and still guzzle milk. So maybe I'm just a little lucky there.
Yeah, that's actually an important note. Whenever I was drinking or doing any kind of drugs, like I would never work out. If I was taking Adderall, I wouldn't eat because I'd think that it would take away the high. Go ahead, John.
Same here. When I was on methamphetamine, I wouldn't eat for that same reason.
Yeah.
Chasing a high. I didn't want to come down, so I wouldn't eat, take proper food.
All right, so I'll go ahead and share this, and John, you may need to edit this out. But my foster kiddo, or former foster kiddo, has ADHD, and he can't get Adderall, and so he's moved to meth.
Damn.
Yeah, I know people that have claimed they were self-medicating for ADHD by taking methamphetamine, but I don't think it's a good medication for anything.
Well, I don't think it's actually. I mean, at least it's not in a controlled dosage.
Oh.
Yeah.
You don't know what you're getting when you walk down the street and buy it.
Yeah, it's kind of funny, the decisions that you make whenever you start down that rabbit hole. It's like I wouldn't see Adderall for months and months, and then somebody would be like, I got Adderall, and then that trigger would hit my mind, like, oh man, I love that stuff. I fucking arranged matches for 6 hours on that stuff. Um, and so I'd buy like 2 pills, for $7 a pop or something like that. And then, it's probably their personal supply, so they don't really want to sell it. But then come the next day, I'm like, hey man, another pill, $20 for this one, like, and they're like, I don't want to sell it. I'm like, come on, $20, and it would just ramp up like that. And then 3 or 4 days, well, two days later, I'd say, after all the money was gone and your body has just been run through this ringer where you're amphetamine out and you haven't eaten and you're having to come down from all this. I mean, God, these are also such terrible feelings. It's like if we could only remember that whenever that guy was like, "Hey, I got my prescription Adderall," I'll be like, "No, I know where that goes, man. In 2 days, I'm gonna be miserable, be hating life."
That's one way I had to get out of my rut or my cycle of continuing to buy. I had to remind myself of how bad it hurts at the end of that bag or the end of that buy.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, it's terrible. I sympathize for that past you.
Uh-huh. It's nice to be free of it though, ain't it?
It really
Yeah.
is. Yeah. I was on a walk this morning,
Mhm.
and I was thinking to
Oh,
myself,
good. You gotta walk.
I got to walk, I got a little bit of a walk, and I thought to myself, I am happier now. I can get almost the same feeling, and I have it sober.
Yeah.
And
The, there's
So
there's this
I've
go
got a
ahead.
question for I've got a question for the two of you. It sounds like you both have diagnosed ADHD.
No, they don't they wouldn't do that to me.
probably, I've
I,
taken them.
so
I tried.
I've never I don't have it,
Uh,
but I have friends who do. But like the few times that I've done anything associated with math, it was like I hated it.
uh,
It was far too much for my brain.
yeah, it's definitely powerful stuff.
Is it different for you guys?
Man, I get so into whatever I'm doing. If I take it and I start cleaning, I'm gonna keep cleaning for like 6 hours. You know what I mean?
I
If
see, and
I'm
I
and
can, and I get that way without it.
yeah, yeah, and that's good. And I myself have that experience. If I just can wash that one dish, eventually it's gonna turn into like a clean kitchen. Uh, you know, as far as getting sucked into it, but I get sucked into anything. If I was playing a video game and I wanted to work on my enchanter skill or whatever in Skyrim,
And then you would just
yeah,
totally.
yeah,
I,
I'd be
okay,
level 100.
is that ADHD or is it OCD?
Uh, well, see, I don't think I have ADHD. I think whenever people that have it take it, they have a different response for it. Uh, where they just become somewhat more normalized. Uh, I'm not really sure how to put that. Uh, for me, it's definitely speed. You know, like I'm going, and going. My mind's racing. If it's the first day, I'm typically better able to keep it down one track more thoroughly. But it's not the way that I do it when I'm sober. Uh, I go down a track like that and start studying something. Get into the music theory books, just start going.
Rabbit hole.
Yeah, and then I don't remember any of that shit the next day. It seems like I'm a genius that day, and then it's all gone the next day. You know what I mean? It's like I finally understand how the stock market works. No, those.
All right, John, I want to hear from you on that one.
On Adderall, I don't know what I can say about Adderall. I did get a prescription for it back the last time I was going to college, and wound up grinding it up, putting it in water, downing it to try to get the effect of the pill.
Quicker.
But
Yeah.
Adderall has such a tolerance factor that once you have a tolerance to it, the same amount doesn't doesn't work.
Yeah.
And so I remember crushing up one pill and then a pill and a half and swallowing that in water to try and get this paper done. And oh gosh, I don't think it ever got completed.
Uh-huh.
But that was at the end of the semester, and I had already think I had burned up my tolerance for Adderall. Um,
Mm.
Maybe I am ADHD or ADD. It really did seem to work for me when I took it as prescribed, but I couldn't.
Yeah.
I liked it too much. I couldn't take it as prescribed.
Mm.
Okay, so I find that interesting, guys, because my what John just described, my brain works that way 24/7.
Huh.
So anything that I was wanting to do was wanting to relax me and turn my mind off for a little
Mm.
bit because I'm way too focused on
Mm.
stuff. You know, I've
Uh-huh.
told you guys before, and we've posted this on some of the previous stuff. Like, I have a work addiction. I get
Yeah.
way too focused.
Yeah.
Um, and I don't think there's a whole lot of stuff out there that like actually brings you down.
Yeah. So I have a buddy uh who takes Adderall as prescribed. You know, I guess as he describes it, his thoughts are all over the place uh before he takes it. And then I've hung around him a lot whenever he's taking his morning dose or whatever like that. And he, you know, he just seems like it puts him on a more even keel. You know, so some people, I think it can help. I think in a lot of cases, it's bad for everybody that gets it. You know, we're these drugs get prescribed, but I don't think all of them are necessarily good. I think there's, you know, not to go too down the conspiracy side of it, but we could do a lot of different stuff to get our health better, get our focus better than
There are a lot of suburban moms who post about stealing their kids Adderall
yeah.
just so that they can get everything done.
Kind of sad
Yeah.
that they, on one hand, sad they feel the need to do that. On the second hand, that if your kid actually needs that medication to do well at school and he doesn't have that day's supply, that's
Yeah.
I don't know.
That's being that's making those drug decisions. The, the shitty ones that we make when we're on that path, on that war path.
Well, you know, my ex-husband was diagnosed with um, ADHD when he was a kid,
Mm.
and he absolutely hated taking Adderall. And at a certain point, as he got older, I was like, you know, maybe you need to talk to your doctor about this and go back on it. And he cried over it because, you know, none of us wants to be medicated.
Yeah,
Hmm.
that was a hard transition for me. Especially
Um, but it definitely, you know, having an actual like informed discussion, you know, it really did help. But yeah, I mean, we either over medicate or we don't medicate at all.
yeah. It was I guess a difficult transition for me at a point whenever I start getting diagnosed with stuff like depression and anxiety and uh, you know, the time that I grew up, those things weren't, you know, people didn't really believe in that. You know, my family didn't believe that depression was a thing. They just thought, you know, you had to get your shit together because you're a bag of ass, you know. You're sad because you're not doing it right, essentially. And so whenever I got older and got these diagnoses, uh, I kind of hated the fact that this was now a part of my life, right? And then these medications were a part of my life. It took a good year or more of taking them and then slowly appreciating uh, the help that I was getting, uh, being able to say it to other people hey, suffer from depression, anxiety, whatever, alcoholism, you know, without feeling as much shame. I think that's a difficult transition for a lot of people, to go from a healthy person that doesn't need any drugs to somebody that has to see, the doctor several times a month or a year or whatever.
So I read a news article yesterday morning, and remind me to send it to you guys. It was from a woman who was originally diagnosed as bipolar, hid it from everybody but her family. And then 20 years later got diagnosed with schizophrenia instead. So she's been on the wrong meds all this time. And she and her husband had to have a serious conversation about whether or not to share that, because they were afraid that people would not be friends with them anymore.
Yeah.
So, mental health is a big deal, but it's really scary to people, whether it's their own mental health or somebody else's.
Yeah. Hopefully, as a populace, we become less judgmental. To My dog's throwing something up.
Did your dog just puke?
And then look it up, maybe. Yeah. So as a populace, becoming less judgmental to all of this, allowing people to seek help unabashedly, be able to grow and support each other, as humans, all trying to get through this whole experience. I think we're making progress.
So I would say that the two of you are helping make that progress. So thank you both.
Yeah, thank you.
Say my weekly conversation with you guys helps me tremendously. Thank you all. Just here, and I do edit these meetings, or at least I play them back, usually on Sunday, and listen to the whole thing again. And the words, your jokes crack me up, your words impact me again and again. So I get a lot of benefit out of this. In fact, I'm not going to any other meetings right now. This is my only meeting, keeping me sober. So I'm happy about that.
Yeah.
Well, I'm happy that this is helping keep you sober, John. But I'm not having the meth addiction. I'm learning a whole lot about stuff. And so that's why I've enjoyed participating in this.
Good.
Yeah.
On that note, we're at the 45-minute mark. We got some feedback to maybe make shorter videos. So can I
really
wrap this one and say thanks for watching and thanks for participating, guys. Yeah, we had some feedback that shorter videos might be better, might be easier to watch.
Do we want to like stop recording and like discuss that?
We can. Yeah, we can talk about that at the after party. Thanks, guys. We appreciate you watching and listening. Check out our other videos, and please follow us, like us.
And
we'll
hang in there. Do a little bit better each day. We love you.
Guys. We love you. Sleep well at night. Okay, bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
I love the way he just said bye-bye.